Welcome to the exciting topic of sex ratios. So, the article that you read, you should have a pretty good idea of what this is about. But let's take a little bit of a step back here. We're talking about sexual reproduction, and one of the nifty things that we get with sexual reproduction is sexes. So, let's take the two-sex system, and that raises some sort of fundamental questions. So, is it best to have equal numbers of each sex? And for whatever numbers of each we should have, how can a balance be maintained stably over many generations? And what kinds of factors affect this balance? So let's think about this. So is it better to have a boy or a girl? People talk about this all the time, but let's look at it from a kind of adaptive standpoint. We talk about females being the choosy sex, so maybe it's better to have a girl. Or maybe if many females can breed with one male, then in a population, you don't really need as many males, so it would be more efficient to just have less males. We can look at this a number of different ways, but something that it just really comes down to is what kind of babies is everybody else having? So, what is going to be advantageous for the mother is what is going to be more rare in the population. We call this frequency-dependent selection. So here's an example. So all your neighbors and community, they're all having girls. What should you have? Well, you should have a boy. Why should you have a boy? Because in this particular population, having a boy, that boy will have more chances to mate as an adult than if you had a girl, because everybody else is having girls. So the boy will be more rare, will have more chances to mate. So you can see how this could be a kind of balancing effect. So if you get too much in one direction, then this effect would bring it back towards the other direction. However, it's not the only thing to consider. You also need to consider what kinds of costs and investment you're making into your offspring. And so what about a situation where if one of the sexes requires more cost, more investment than the other? So let's talk about the example of a time investment. Let's say you're a species where it takes 2 years to make a daughter, raise a daughter, invest in a daughter, versus only 1 year for a son. So what would you expect? For your sex ratio, now is the situation where you shouldn't have equal numbers of sons and daughters in the population. You would expect that in the population there should be the production of more sons, twice as many, in fact. And the balancing effect here is that there's a higher cost for daughters, because it takes 2 years to go into it, but they have higher reproductive success. There's less of them. So those are the two balancing costs, benefits and costs.